Hey guys, Rob Feedbackwrench here. We are a free market entrepreneurship thinking establishment. We like to inspire people to become entrepreneurs and help them get better, move upward and forward in their life. And today I want to show out something just that I don't think you're hearing from the mainstream media. And yes, I talk about the mainstream media because for some reason there's this lockstep messaging out of the Associated Press wire. And no conspiracy theorist, but I like to deal in reality. So real quick, let's just read an article about the reality around Joe Biden's climate change plan. Article came out today. And if you don't know this, one of the points of Joe Biden's plan is that he wants to become, ensure that the U.S. achieves a 100% clean energy economy and reaches a net zero emissions no later than 2050. Folks, that is impossible. It makes no sense. I'm going to read to you something by Willis Essenbach. So after reading some information at the Friends of Science, I got to thinking about how impossible it will be for us to do what so many people are demanding that we do. This is to go to a zero CO2 emissions by 2050 by getting rid of fossil fuels. It's impossible, folks. So let's take a look at the size of the problem. People generally have very little idea as to how much energy we get from fossil fuels. In figure 1, it shows just how great it is. And we're going to keep moving here. So if we are going to zero emissions by 2050, we will need to replace about 193 petawatt hours. And he goes on to say a whole bunch of million billion hours. But here's the specifics of just how insane this is. If we want to achieve Joe Biden's plan, folks, the point is this is impossible. So read just how impossible this is. Starting from today, January 25th, 2021, there are 10,568 days until January 1st, 2050. So we need to install, test, commission, and add to the grid about 22 terawatts of, of energy, right? Here we got this going through. So it shows that there's a couple of ways that we can add this much activity over the next 10,568 days. We could do that in a couple of ways. We could go all nuclear. In that case, we need to build and commission and bring online a brand new 2.1 gigawatt nuclear power plant every single day from now until 2050. So if we want to do what Joe Biden says, if we want to do this, a new power plant, a nuclear power plant every day till 2050. Sound doable? Sounds like this is pie in the sky nonsense. If you don't like nukes, well, we could use wind power. Now, the wind doesn't always blow. Typical wind capacity factor, basically the reduction is about 35% since the wind's not always blowing. So we'd have to build, install, commission, and bring online just under 3,000 medium-sized or 2 megawatt per hour wind turbines every single day from now till 2050. 3,000 turbines a day from now till 2050. Now, if you don't like wind, well, we could use solar. Per the NREL, actual delivery from grid-scale solar panel installations on a 24/7, 365 basis is on the order of 8.3 watts. Basically, he says we would have to do 96 square miles of solar panels, wire them up, test them, and connect them to the grid every single day from now till 2050. 96 square miles. 96 square miles. That's insane just to achieve what we're talking about here. Now, to summarize, to get the world to zero emissions by 2050, our options are to build, commission, and bring online one 2.1 gigawatt nuclear power plant every day till 2050, or 3,000 2 megawatt wind turbines every day until 2050, plus a 2.1 gigawatt nuclear power plant every day and a half until 2050, or we can do 96 square miles of solar panels every day from now till 2050. Folks, this just shows that if you're the party of science, you cannot stand and say that we're actually going to achieve these dreams. And the reaction of most people are going to be, well, we have to do something. Isn't something better than nothing? No. Before we lower the planet by pulling the lever of lowering carbon emissions, you know what we're going to have? We're going to have an authoritarian, top-down economy and government that meddles in everything that we do, that's going to have the right to take and give from different sectors, that's going to make winners and losers in the market. It's going to start dictating who gets government contracts on a massive scale, and we are going to have two economies even faster than we already are. We're going to have those connected to the government crony land and those who are just normal people without a patron within the government. Folks, we cannot keep voting in a way that raises the power, scope, and precedent of what government tries to accomplish. And right now, this is the flavor of the week. Carbon emissions are the flavor of the week. What if 20 years from now we start finding out, wait a minute, we needed it to get warmer? And I think that climate change, I talk about this a lot because I'll even give you, okay, man-made climate change is real. Okay, I personally think that there's a lot of challenges to that, particularly because we're coming out of an ice age 10,000 years ago. The scale in which things are warming may have increased, but we were under a mile of ice where I'm sitting just 10,000 years ago, supposedly. So before that ever occurred, we had massive amounts of warming before we ever messed with it. Besides that, you know what fossil fuels are? Fossil fuels and that carbon were from animals and plant life. So when we burn a fossil fuel, we're actually putting back into the atmosphere that which was once in the atmosphere, which means that we're simply biasing when we want this carbon released. It may be underground right now, but who's to say that it's not better to have a warmer climate? In fact, we know that the poles were once covered in all sorts of lush vegetation, that it was warmer. Who's to say that it was worse? But primarily, I believe that far before we actually move the needle for climate change, while we might try and do something, what we're going to be left with is a neutered, broken system with authoritarian bureaucrats calling winners and losers, and they're going to get it wrong. And they're going to create mayhem in our economy. They're going to slow things down. And you know who it's going to hurt? You know who it's actually going to hurt? It's going to hurt the people that rely on fossil fuels the most. In fact, there's a book out there called The Moral Use for Fossil Fuels. And when you dive into it, it has the highest BTU possible of any other energy factor out there. Fossil fuels are moral. They're portable. They're actually quite clean as we continue to scrub. If you read into the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 diesel emissions, like the evil bulldozers, the evil machines of the 70s, where all of this stuff kind of got concocted and started so much, it's not true. In fact, in a lot of ways, the air that leaves a machine is oftentimes nearly as clean as what went into it. But you're not told that. You know why? Because the state is in charge of your education. And as long as state-led monopolies on education persist, and we don't have a more entrepreneurial, fact-based, trades-based, reality-based education that actually equips people and allows parents to choose, we're going to be stuck with this. So yeah, I'm quite libertarian in my leanings, and I love teachers, and I love Democrats, I love Republicans, I love people. But you know what? When it comes to these strategies of how are we going to move the needle upward and forward in a way that builds momentum for those that are most at risk, for minorities, for regular people, I don't believe that pursuing crony policies like this, because here's how this is going to translate, folks. We are about to have a monumental government crony system happen as we can't even pursue this. Like, to hit our goals, let's just read over them one more time just to remember how insane this is. This is basically a blank check by Joe Biden's administration to pursue some pie-in-the-sky nonsense because, we must do something. So 2.1 gigawatt nuclear power plant each and every day till 2050. That would get us there. Or 3,000 wind turbines every day till 2050. Or 96 square miles of solar panels every day. Folks, this has nothing to do with actually reaching a goal. This has everything to do with creating a blank check to hand over to whomever they want to build up power. And it is frightening. And we should keep our eyes open. And I hope that the press does a good job of showing the crony relationships like Solyndra that we had. Folks, this is bad news. I don't think it's good. But good luck. God bless. There is hope. Keep your head up.